Aloha. I'm Paul Deloria for the Maui Community Investigation. In this video, we'll be looking at the government's final report on the cause and spread of the Lahaina fire, as well as looking at the many omissions, the suppression of important data, as well as not collecting forensic information. What this does, it creates a contrived story. And our goal and objective as a community group is to challenge that story and to get an open, public, transparent investigation and hearing. The way that they do it is they investigate themselves secretly and come up with these reports that give their storyline validity. However, when we start to look at the omissions, that storyline begins to crumble. So let's see what they've come up with, spending millions of dollars of taxpayers' money on these reports,
involving 7 different government agencies in the production of 5 major reports. The first was released in May by Fire Safety Research Institute, providing information on wind formation and the timelines of the fire. The next report was by the Maui Fire Department on their fire response and also the spread. And the police report was also on the police response as well as body recovery. These 3 reports were covered in video 8 and all reinforce the same story. The next report by Fire Safety Research Institute again assumed the same storyline, providing recommendations for prevention and all based on their previous narrative. And now the latest report from the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives released to the public in October as the final declaration of the origin and cause of the fire, reinforcing the official government story. So let's look at their narrative and also what was omitted. So on August 8th, 2023, a fire started in Upper Lahaina Luna Road. The fire was sparked by a downed power line. It was reported at 6:35 a.m. to 911. And the firemen responded quickly and was there by 6:42, and by 8:52 a.m. it was 100% contained. It was really impacted a relatively small area, and firemen were there throughout the day. Then Engine 11 checked on the fire area at 2:48 p.m. And shortly after they left, actually 4 minutes after, smoke appeared and was spotted by residents at 2:52 p.m. By 3 p.m., Engine 11 arrived at the scene and greeted by a 20 by 100-foot brush fire. The flames spread down the gully quickly, moving west at a high rate of speed. At 3:22, the fire jumped the highway, and cars on the exit ramp caught video of the flames approaching the town. The fire quickly consumed the light brush and grass as it approached the buildings in Lahaina. Here is where the first omission occurs that I'd like to pay attention to. Now, look at the same area of the fire interfacing with the town, and we are zooming in on a utility truck that was in a large asphalt parking lot. There was a white jig-jag, is a wheelchair ramp, and 2 weeks after the fire, and this is what we were greeted by. Now, notice the engine and cab of this utility truck torched, yet the Quonset hut and house and even the light brush on the fence was not burnt. And as we look at the back of the truck, that was not burnt either. And there was gas in the gas tank. Tires were not burnt in the back. And there were aerosol cans that actually worked. Let's go back to the government's narrative. Now, winds from the mountains to the ocean was the main driver of the fire. Radiant heat and sparks also spread this fire. These winds were turbulent and would also change direction. So as a result, we had 2,207 structures that were either damaged or destroyed at a cost of $6 billion, and the tragedy of 104 deaths. This inferno engulfed 2,170 acres. Even though the wind was the main driver of the fire, sweeping from the mountains to the ocean, the fire spread out. The upper area of the wings was uphill, so it was possible for backtracking to occur against the wind. But to have it spread out like that raises questions. And there are two potential arson points that were not considered. So look at the arson point, for example, on the south corner of this wing, as well as another potential arson point on the north side. They all merit at least some consideration. Also, there are other things that need to be considered, like the testimonies of those who survived in the burn zone. Randy Kudamash was 2 blocks away from Front Street during the entire fire. Here's what he had to say.
These fireballs came in all different directions, to the east, to the south, to the north, to the west. And they were always in big groups. You never saw a single fireball. So like, when a group of fireballs, I watched it hit my moped, and it turned the wires in front of the moped and the front tire, just incinerated it instantly to where, but it didn't burn the back seat or the back tire. And it also had hit my backpacks that were right next to my moped. Like I said, the fireballs traveled in groups. So that group, some of them hit my moped and some of them hit the backpacks.
Like if you threw a match on like a charcoal fire, just like when you throw a match, that's what it went like, boom, and it was gone. And I had stuff that was like pictures of my father and mother that are dead, you know what I mean? And I thought, and I seen it go like that, and I was like, fucking, oh, this is serious. You know, it's dodgeball with death. Yeah, the fireball, dodgeball with death. Whenever I seen that thing right there, it'd go like that, poof.
The government story asserts that the main driver of the fire were these intense gusty winds, and they came from Hurricane Dora 650 miles to the southwest, interacting with a high pressure system some 700 miles to the north of Maui, and this generated a pressure gradient. That was the alleged cause of multiple convergences on the west mountains of Maui. And these convergences also can be engineered. Now, the man-made version requires particulate matter in the atmosphere to change and move to generate these intense winds. The satellite view shows a mass being generated on August 2nd in a tract north of Hurricane Dora. And it approached Maui and hit Maui on August 7th when residents saw this white haze, this white wall coming in on the island. And it was more intense on the 8th. And that's what's needed for this type of geoengineering and using those particulate matters to energize different types of things that are possible. Also, not accounted for are the alignment of clouds and the termination beyond the island. There were also unprecedented number of windspouts. And there was somatic patterns in the atmosphere that was recorded on the 8th that seemed like some energy waves being generated. Again, when we look at the reports, engineering weather does not enter their vocabulary. These weather anomalies are covered in detail in video 7. Now, also missing from the narrative are the strange incineration of vehicles surrounded by unburnt houses and light brush. Here are 2 vehicles in an open field near the fire onset. Again, surrounded by homes that are not burnt. And again, as it takes 2,600 degrees to melt glass and metal. And here is a car in the middle of a driveway, surrounded by shrubs and houses that are not touched. Again, asking for freedom of information on the vehicles. The response was no data was collected on this. That could be also shown more on video number 2, goes into the details on the vehicles in the burn zone. Now, the same omission also occurs around the trees. This is a picture I took 2 weeks after the fire. And notice the leaves were still on the tree. And they were doing a cleanup on those branches, but go look at the base, and it was burnt out and hollowed out on the inside. They do not mention the many trees that were remaining with leaves over buildings that were reduced to white ash. And they do not account for trees burnt from the inside out. And some of them were tall, but all hollowed out all the way down to the root system, while the bark was intact. These trees were gouged out from the inside. In one parking lot, there were 7 trees like this. And also, when I dug down into the tap roots, it was a pile of ash. And I could dig 14 inches down to where the taproot once existed. So you can refer to video number 3 and 4 for more details on the trees. And then there was police report. It provides no specific information on the barriers on the roads, especially along Front Street, or the blockage of exit roads. The report also goes into the recovery documentation, saying that they followed procedures and that according to their report, they perform admirably. Refuting the reports is whistleblower Grayson Obara. And again, I ask you to refer to video number 9 for more details.
So instead of using Grayson and his trained staff, Chief Pelletier sent out his own crew to go out and collect bodies early on the morning of August 9th. And as a result, they were stacking bodies up on back of pickup trucks without any body bags. They weren't documenting body recovery properly. They weren't taking photographs. They weren't even mapping where the bodies were taken from. So it made identification very difficult initially. And not only that, but a lot of the important forensic data was destroyed in the process. When Grayson confronted Chief Pelletier about proper protocol, that is when the tension began between the two of them. And when Grayson tried to instruct some of the police officers on proper protocol so that proper forensic data could be taken, he was reprimanded by Chief Pelletier. And the tension remained throughout that rest of that period of collecting the bodies and documenting. When those tasks were completed, Grayson was fired. But not only that, he and his company was not paid for the work that they had done during this catastrophe. This is the type of dynamics that we're facing as we move forward with this investigation and trying to get the truth out. And whistleblowers like Grayson are facing financial challenges right now because of that. As we move forward, we're going to keep on working on getting other videos out and getting more of the facts and data. One of that pieces is to get 52 samples that we have in the taken in the burn zone early on in different areas. And we would like to get those samples analyzed, and it's costly to do that. So we could use your financial support as well as helping us as we start to move into some legal approaches. You can go to our website, MauiCommunityInvestigation.com, and go to our donation tab there. Also on that tab, you'll find a petition. And if you haven't signed our petition, please do so. Or if you have friends, encourage them to also sign it so that they can get our regular email blast that we'll be sending out. Thank you for your interest in what we're facing here in Lahaina. I think you'll find that it has not only implications throughout the United States and other events that are occurring that are similar, but also on a global level. So help us to expose the truth. So if you can help us financially, we'd greatly appreciate it. Please help spread the word also. So mahalo for your interest and support.